Hello, YouTube. What I kind of want to talk about today is was influenced by some things that I had heard from other people and some people who want to accuse me of things that I feel they're accusing me of because they don't want to deal with things in their lives. But the truth is that um, it doesn't matter who said it. But I was recently told that I was cynical. Um, and it didn't come from YouTube, it came from Facebook. I made a status, and I was recently told that my status was considered by this individual to be quite cynical. And I made a comment back to that person, and then the next time I got back on, they were no longer on my Facebook. But the truth is that I feel that everything, happy, sad, cynicism, anger, disappointment, depression, they all exist for a reason. We may not like some of those things, like anger or depression or pain or sadness, but the truth is they're all real things, and they're all a part of life. And I feel when people come at me and tell me, Tom, you shouldn't be talking about those certain things. That sounds so depressing. That sounds so sad. That sounds so painful. Or if I call out people for who they are, bigots, assholes, losers, jerks. I have people tell me, oh, Tom, you can't call people that. You can't say those things, even if you think they're real, or even if you think it's true. You shouldn't say stuff like that. Why not? Why are we so afraid of the truth of these things? I mean, I hate to break it to you, but the sun in the morning is not always going to shine the brightest and make everything always bright. Sometimes the clouds cover up the sun. Sometimes when you wish and hope that the rain will stop, the rain doesn't stop. Sometimes when you love somebody and you want it to work out, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes things just aren't good. Sometimes things don't go well. And if you want to sit there and pretend all day that none of these things happen and that nothing bad ever happens in the world, that's fine. You go ahead and think that. But those things are still going to continue to happen because whether you acknowledge it or not, it's still there. You can sit in a house all day and ignore a dog and not feed it or give it water, but you know what? The dog's still going to be there, and eventually the dog is going to dehydrate and starve to death. Just because you ignored it and just because you pretend it wasn't there doesn't mean that the animal was not there. The same thing with experiences and things in life and disappointments. You may not want to think about them. You may not like it. You may think that's negative. You may think that it's not important for those things to be discussed, but you would be wrong. And I'm willing to say that as not as a sharing thing, but as my full opinion on the matter, that I believe for you to be wrong. Because to ignore them is to ignore reality, to ignore facts, to ignore truth. That things are not always great. And unfortunately, I think it's stupid to see people get criticized for speaking their mind, whether it be positive or negative. People just have just as much right to be sad and upset and to express their sadness as people do that want to express their happiness. It's reality for people to have pain, for people to be sad, for people to be disappointed. That's real. Those things are real. And it's time for everybody to grow a set and look and face those problems head on instead of wanting to pretend like nothing bad ever happens, wanting to pretend like there's never anything negative in the world, wanting to pretend like people are never hurt, or wanting to pretend like people are never screwed over to the point where they have a hard time trusting people, even if it means they have a hard time trusting really good close friends. And if you are a really good close friend, then you would understand because of what your friend has been through. If they've been through a whole lot and people have really screwed them over, then you would be there to understand that, you know what, you need to be encouraging and kind and helpful to these people. And yes, they may have negative things to say sometimes, but that doesn't mean you bitch at them and you ignore them. You take the time to listen to them. And even if you don't understand, you try to understand. Instead of just telling them to get over things and ignoring them and acting like their problem doesn't exist, just because you don't feel their pain and don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not real pain. I mean, come on, people. Things aren't always awesome. Things don't always work out. And that's sad, and it does suck, and we don't always like to hear about it, but the truth is that it's good to hear about those things sometimes. It's good to know about these things sometimes because it helps us fix it. It helps things to get better. It helps people to understand things, and it shows us that life is not a fairy tale. Things don't always go well. There's not always a Prince Charming that we jump up on a horse with and ride off into the sunset. It's time for us to stop living in our fairy tale worlds where we think everything's okay. And instead of playing pretend, let's stand up, be heard, be accounted for, make our voice known, and change the world in a positive direction. Instead of sitting on our asses and doing nothing, but also pretending like nothing bad ever happens. And so, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I wanted to share with. I'd love to hear your comments. I always do, because I like hearing other people's point of view about things. And, this one was an interesting one for me. I thought about it a lot, and I would love to hear the point of view of other people. So, peace out, and I will talk to all of you later.